What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Rideshare Hub. My name's Greg. Hey, before we get started, guys, I wanted to tell you about an awesome app called GetUpside. It's a great app that helps you save money on gas. If you're an Uber and a Lyft driver, you know that is like a huge cost every single week that you do this. So saving as much money on gas is crucial. It's really awesome, though. The very first time you use it, you get 25 cents off per gallon. They have a really sick referral program where you permanently get 1 cent off per gallon for every single time you fill up for each person you refer. So think about it, guys. You refer 10 people, you're getting 10 cents off per gallon every single time you fill up. Combine that with your Uber and Lyft fuel rewards, you're talking like closer to 20 cents off per gallon. That's massive savings. You would be so floored at how much money that'll add up to be at the end of the year when you really look at like how much you spent on gas. So be sure to check that out, guys. What I'm going to talk to you guys today about is Uber's rate cuts, like what they're really doing with them, why they're doing them so often, and like where's this really all headed, you know? So let's dive right into it. There was some really interesting things I noticed. I did a lot of research on this. So a lot of you guys remember probably the heyday, which was, more closer to when it came out, but the rate was like up to like $1.10 a mile, something like that. So like, that's crazy to me, because if you give a 20-mile ride, like you've made over $20. So like you could give one ride in under 30 minutes and you've already made 20 an hour. Like that's not the easiest thing to do, to make 20 an hour consistently off of one ride. But like back then it was. And a lot of people that I've heard from that like were actually driving in this like heyday of a time, like some people were making like 40-50 bucks an hour back then, which is insane. I didn't drive that long ago, but I drove long enough to where like the rate was still at I think it was like 90 cents a mile. And I was like really consistently doing 30 an hour. It's tough. Uber and Lyft used to be so amazing. And it's not bad now. Like, let's really be honest with ourselves. Like, I can still make 20 an hour really consistently, like almost any time of day. I can't really complain about that. The rates now in most areas, I believe, are down to 60 cents per mile. I think a lot of areas are still 75. So correct me on that if I'm wrong, guys. And then for my like Lyft Express drivers, like, you know, you're really only making like 40-45 cents per mile. I don't really know about Uber's program, but I'm sure it's just as hideous. So what's like really been happening is like a lot of people I think have always really been under this impression that like Uber and Lyft are super money hungry companies. And I know it's something I've like really thought over the last few years as well. Is like, there's been so many times where I'd be like, these scumbags, like all they care about is themselves and just making a huge profit. Then I found out that neither company's ever turned a profit. And these are massive companies, so like I'm sure there's a lot going into this that we don't know, but like the public data shows that like Uber in their second quarter was at negative 700 million, which is insane. And there's a lot of reasons why both companies haven't profited. Uber has paid out so much in lawsuits, but just bit my lip. Wow, that hurt really bad. Sorry, guys. So random. But Uber's paid out a ton in lawsuits, so like they've lost a lot of money there. But here's the reality. The true reason on why the cuts have happened is for that. So I will say, like, the one thing you can kind of like rest easily about is like I really don't believe they're actually trying to like scam all of us. Like, I again have been such a victim of like feeling like I was being scammed and hosed constantly from the rate cuts, and like the reality is like they've had to do them. It's the honest truth. If I had to guess, I would say within the next year we'll see another rate cut, because they're still not profiting. They're still not making money, and like that's like the only real way to like really get their costs down. I would say expect it to drop another 5 cents per gallon. I'd almost be willing to bet cash on that. But here's some interesting points about it. So one interesting thing, like along with rate cuts, is like Uber and Lyft have both always said that they take 25% of our earnings, right? There was an interesting report done. I was actually a part of the data for this. There was about 14,000 drivers that were a part of a case study, and we submitted, I can't remember how much, but we submitted a good amount of our earnings so that they could look at it and really see what we made. So from over 14,000 drivers, what they saw was that Uber is actually taking 30% of our earnings and Lyft is taking 35%. So the reason I bring that up is I think the reason that we haven't had a rate cut too recently, besides I think Express Drive got cut recently, is that I don't think they're cutting rates anymore. I just think they're getting sneakier about how much money they take. Now, like I said, I do still believe there will be a rate cut, but I think what they've been doing recently is I think they've been finding different loopholes to take more money from us. So I've heard a lot of drivers report that they're not really getting paid for surge wait time. So a lot of Uber drivers have been saying that like the money they made during, like, if you took someone to a fast food place and you're just in the drive-through, like I've never minded giving a surge ride where I had to wait at a drive-through because I'm getting that surge per minute. And if I'm in an area where I know I'm not going to give another surge ride that hour, it's a great incentive. But a lot of people have been reporting that they've noticed that money's missing. I have no like validity to these statements. I haven't personally seen that. I don't know these people. These are just, fellow rideshare forum submitters. So hypothetically, they're all BSing. I don't know, but it has been something that a lot of people have been reporting. So I think that along with a rate cut, like what we're going to see over the next 5 years is they're just going to find sneakier ways to take more money, whether it's a percentile. And it's like I was saying, like, I mean, we can get all pissed, like ticked off about that, but like they kind of have to do it. And if you really are like wanting to be a consistent rideshare driver, like you've just got to comply with it, unfortunately. So the interesting thing about that case study was both companies, primarily Lyft, come out and they say, no, that's all jargon. That's bogus. Like, you don't know how a company works. You don't have all the data you really need. So then this company goes, okay, we'll tell you what, just release us that data and then we'll do a more accurate case study. And they both companies refuse to release all of our earnings, which I personally wouldn't care. Like, that's not really sensitive information. Like, it's just what we made driving for Uber and Lyft. Like, I'd care less if there was a study, and I personally would love to see a really accurate study with like all the earnings over the last 2 years to see how much on average they were actually taking. Like, I'd be really curious, and I think there's a reason that they're not wanting to do a study. They've both been like crazy secretive about things like that. And I think that's like a huge reason why is I'm very, very confident that they're taking upwards of 35% from all of us. And I've noticed that from tips. I've noticed that from so many different angles. So those numbers are basically 6% and 8.5% higher than they record publicly. I don't really know what like the legal ramifications are for that, but like it's got to be something, right? Like if they're doing that. So that being said, guys, I mean, the honest truth is, it's like I was saying, like there's really nothing we can do about it. I just think it's a good thing to be aware of. Like, it's a good thing to keep your eye on, because eventually if it gets bad enough, like people just need to stop driving. They have the upper hand over us as drivers because they know there's enough of us that love the lifestyle and want to keep living it. And they also know that there's enough new people signing up that if us veterans quit, got plenty of new drivers to come on that will take the lesser rate. For those of us that are used to 20 to 25 an hour, like, I know how it is. Like, I know, like, going out there and sometimes making 15 an hour, like, I'll a lot of times go home because I just can't stand it. But you got to think, there's some guy who that 13 to 15 an hour, he's having that same joy about that we all had when we first got started. So that's the honest truth. There's always going to be new drivers. They know that. They have the upper hand. We have to depend on them. We have to depend on them and hope they're going to be honest, So that's all I got for you guys. I'm gonna let you guys go on that note. I hope you guys liked the video. Be sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. Got some awesome content coming for you guys. Crush it out there this week, and I will see you guys soon.